Well, hello, everybody. This is John Farr and John Ribner. Are you there, Mr. Ribner?
I'm right here, sir.
All right, all right. Well, we're back again with another Webinar Wednesday presentation here. We're going to talk about some really good stuff today. And today we want to talk a little bit about PCA, per customer average, and a lot of assorted subjects that go along with that, because PCA is incredibly important. So, John, you're with me here, and what I'm going to do, John, is I'm going to go to the first slide of my PowerPoint so people can see kind of in general what we're trying to do here. And so I think there's always, when I talk about PCA, John, people will say, well, what is PSA? What is PTA? What is LPPA? Blah, blah, blah. You got all of these abbreviations. And so PCA is one of the more important numbers, and it's per customer average. Now, it is not, per customer average is not a measurement of selling success of an individual salesperson that works for you.
Right.
It is a measurement of how the salon is doing overall with its customer base. And if you look on the slide here, and they can see the slide here, John, but I'm preaching all the time that you need to know what your numbers and what they mean. But below that, I've put a quote on there that less tanners, and in most cases, many cases in our business right now, we're getting less tanners. But there's a reason for that, and I'll go into that later too. But less tanners mean we have to get more time and money investment from the tanners we do have, and the quickest and best way to raise PCA is to raise EFT sales and EFT draw levels. So we'll get into that more.
That's absolutely true.
You got to do that. You got to do that.
Absolutely. As I recall, I think we touched on PCA in our last webinar, and we were talking the other day, and I said that I really wanted to get into the meta of PCA, or in other words, to drill down a little bit deeper, kind of get into the weeds of what this is, simply because I, for one, despite my years in this industry, I got the acronym confused with LPPA and PSA and PTA, which is probably a common mistake that some in this industry make.
It is, yep.
So, I mean, we would normally start there, but I think you took the time to explain that very well as you set up this. But I would like to ask you how, from the standpoint of somebody that, let's say doesn't know as much about PCA as they need to, how do you determine PCA? Is there a formula? How do you calculate it? Let's start there. I'm sure it's like everything, it starts with a number, right?
It starts with a number, and you're absolutely right. And let's give you some things to look at. And looking at the screen here, and I'll tell you, it's a fairly easy calculation. Most of the time, with most of the software that's out there, you can get it as long as you don't confuse it, like with some of the other things that you were talking about, John, PSA, PTA, whatever, as long as you don't confuse it with that. Now, so you can never be confused. Here's an easy calculation. If you could take your total number of unique clients, unique customers, and I think we talked about that in the last week's webinar.
Yes.
So if you could take that total unique customers and divide it into your total annual revenues, and on the screen right now I have an example for people. Let's say that your total your total annual revenues is 200,000, and your unique customer count is 2,000. You divide the one into the other, you find out that your per customer average over 12 months is $100. So, and I think, John, you're probably gonna. I think I'm reading your mind. You want to know, well, what's average in this business?
Yeah, that is what I was thinking. I mean, well, what does the average tanning salon owner typically reflect in terms of a PCA?
Well,
although that is hard because no two tanning salons are the same.
Amen. As a matter of fact, I probably used this analogy before, kind of ad nauseum. I'm sure people have been foolish enough to listen to me talk before, but what it comes down to is that averages in our business, because there are so many differences in competition and salon size and market size, whatever, that it comes down to that average is the Average is like, in this business, is like having your head in the oven and your butt in the freezer. So, what does average mean? But and we're
Right.
the only one, the Power Group is the only one that aggregates numbers. So, I mean, SmartTan doesn't do it anymore. The manufacturers don't. Um, if you talk to an equipment manufacturer, they may have an idea, a general idea. We have hard numbers because there's so many clients, and we aggregate their numbers, and so we have a pretty good handle on it.
Okay.
And I would say that the average right now is around 90, maybe $92 over a 12-month period. Now, that
Okay.
average, that means you got people that are down in the $65 and $70 range, which is really bad.
Yep.
And you've got people up at 130, 140. Now, our client average, the clients that we deal with, their PCA average is about 120, and that sounds like that's awfully self-serving, that we're $30 above what the national average is, but that's because we work with them on their EFTs and all the rest of their bundling of their products, and it does make a
Absolutely.
difference. So,
Well, you're looking at all of those numbers and
all of
dissecting
those
them and
numbers,
seeing,
absolutely.
yeah, seeing where they can do better. Well, in general terms, along those lines, let's tell our listeners, all the independent tanning salon owners out there who are tuning in on this and catching it in replays and letting their employees listen to it, etc. Let's give them a little bit of help on how to raise their PCA. And along those lines, I'll kind of set you up with a question here, because it seems to me, while the PCA, while that overall number, as you explained very well, John, it takes a look at all your customers. I would imagine that increasing the PCA number is done one tanner, one client at a time. Am I right, or is that?
Well,
How would you
is.
do that?
It is, but it also has a lot to do with how you set up your EFT program, because EFTs
Okay.
have such an enormous impact on PCA. Um, let me
Tell us why that is, John.
well,
I find that interesting.
well, let me do this. See, John. Let me go through a couple more comments here on PCA, and
Sure.
then in
We can always circle back to that, no
the
problem.
next screen, I'm going to come back to exactly what you said, because on the next screen, the first comment I've got on there is you can't raise PCA without raising EFT. So let me just go through this. And first of all, people will say, well, what is a unique customer? It's amazing how many calls I get about what is a unique customer. And I'll say to people, if you want to take the word unique out and you want to put the word individual in there, you can. And that's
Right.
A person that comes into your salon maybe spends $50 in a year, another person spends $200, another person spends $100, and those are all unique customers. And that's why you have to aggregate. You got to take your total annual revenues and divide them by your total number of unique or individual customers. And
Yes.
PCA is health. It's a health vital for salons. It's like your heartbeat. It's the heartbeat of your business, and it's usually expressed in a dollar number for peak or non-peak or annual results. Now, let me explain that. PCA,
Sure.
look at it over 12 months and then compare it to a prior 12 months and see if you're gaining or losing on PCA. Now, you can also do it on a peak or non-peak season, as long as you remember that that number can't be anywhere compared to a total 12-month period. So if you're going to do it like a peak season, and let's say that your peak season comes out to be $75 or $80, and you compare that against the peak season, in other words, January through June of, say, the prior year.
Yep.
Now, if you get $75 or $80 on your PCA in peak season, you're probably going to be running about 120 or 130 for your total year, and that's because typically we do 65% of our business in the first 6 months of the year and 35% in the second 6 months, which is something, you know, John, one of these sessions that you and I should give is talking about how do I get more than that 35% in non-peak, because that's what we're going into now. And I think it's something you and I should think about, you know,
absolutely. We are more than sliding into Jason at this point.
Absolutely.
And like we said in our last webinar, I think it bears repeating. you have two options for what JASON is going to stand for in this industry.
I love
It's either going to be July, July, August, September, October, November, or it's going to be just another salon owner's nightmare. And it's up to you salon owners out there to make the difference between the two. I mean, personally, me, I like the names of the months a little better.
I like that. I know you came up with that, John. That is one of my favorites. Just another salon owner's nightmare.
You know,
basically what it is.
Gosh, John, I'll be honest with you. I'd love to take credit for it. I really would. But when I first joined this industry so many years ago, I swear I read that. I came across that from one of the keyboard cowboys on tantoday.com used that acronym, and I just found it funny, and I always retained it. I like I say, I'd love to take credit for it, but it really is not mine. Who knows? I can't remember who wrote it, but it was definitely somebody on tantoday.com. So.
Well, I don't care. If you won't take credit for it, I will.
Go right ahead.
No. It's cute. Okay, so I guess what we're getting to is how do I raise, and you brought it up earlier, how do I raise PCA in my salon? And let's get to that. And here's
Sure.
the next slide. It's EFTs and bundling are critical. They really are. So don't miss the opportunity to bundle your UV, your spray, your red light if you have it, wraps, teeth whitening, and of course lotion.
Body wraps, massage.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can bundle, most people what they have is they have, say, on an average, I'd say 4 levels of UV, and then maybe they'll have a 5th level that will be a premium or platinum or diamond, whatever you want to call it, level that gives the people the right to tan in any bed plus a spray tan. And that normally is more expensive. That's up there $79 to $89 a month. But, if you can throw in, the nice thing about bundling, say, a wrap or teeth whitening in with that is because then in your Jason months, where maybe people aren't quite as interested in tanning anymore, at least they can get a spray tan for an event, and you can get a wrap, and they can get teeth whitening and whatever. It gives them reasons to stay around and, as a member with your business. So
absolutely.
Let me bring up the rest of this slide. And it's true, you can't raise PCA without raising EFT. I mean, it would be very difficult to do because EFT is really the backbone of your PCA. And
absolutely, and real quick to add to that, I mean, EFT memberships have been the subject of distributor symposium and tanning event roundtables for nearly a decade now, and yet there are still some salon owners out there that are not taking advantage of this form of payment. And I mean, I realize, John, that alone is a webinar in and of itself, but I think that what you're saying just underscores the importance that you guys really got to get on the EFT membership program because it's where everything is going. I'm sure you would agree, John.
Well, actually, I got to throw a number out for you, John.
Sure.
As it's almost incredulous to me and to people that are making good money in this business that other people are not on EFT. But I would, this is just our closest guess, and we take this from the people who call us and ask for help. There's still probably 10 to 15% of the outlets out there that are not on an EFT program, and it absolutely blows my mind. And as an example, by the way, just 2 weeks ago, I had a lady call me, and I won't tell you what state she's from because I don't want to embarrass. Very nice lady.
No problem.
Very nice lady. But when we were talking about PCA, and I said that the average for the industry is probably 90 to 92, and our average for our customers is 120. Her PCA was $61.
Okay. She's below industry average.
Oh, she's way below. And what she uses, and this just blows my mind, she uses a card system. No, she has no software.
There's people still doing the old Rolodex cards.
I
Wow.
know it. It just and it's not that I think less of this lady. I feel actually, to tell you the truth, I feel terrible for her. I feel real bad for her because she happens to be in a market. She's got a 12-bed salon in a market where she basically has no competition, or the only competition she has, I think, is 7 or 8 miles away. So in
Okay.
the sub-market that she's in, she's by herself. But when we looked at the per customer average and her, let's see, her second level of tanning is $39.95. Call it $40. Oh, this is the other
Okay.
thing too. She sells minute packages, which that was another
Oh my
dagger in the
God,
heart.
cards and minutes.
Yes,
That's
I know.
definitely a blast from the past.
It is definitely a blast from the past. But we figured out what I showed her is that her average customer is only investing in her salon about 5 weeks of the year. And that's absolutely going to kill you. I mean, you can't have your
Yeah.
average unique customer doing business with you over 5 weeks, and you can't stay in business that way. And her business has dropped. Let's see, 3 years ago, if I remember correctly, or yeah, 3 years ago she did 120,000, and then 2 years ago she did 90, and then a year ago she did, I think it was 78 or
Uh-huh.
75. And this year I did a projection for, she's projected to do about 58,000. And it makes me sick because,
Okay.
the backbone of our business is entrepreneurs. It's ladies like this that,
Yes.
work very
Yes.
hard. It is, and it's not, the backbone of our business is not giant corporate chains. It's people that,
Not at all.
no, it's
It's people
hardworking
that
people.
had a dream and wanted to go into
Yep,
business for themselves.
absolutely.
And so, with them in mind, let's kind of bring ourselves back on target here. And you were about to tell us how most salon owners can raise their PCA through EFT memberships.
Yeah, and so if on the screen here we're talking about you can't raise PCA without raising EFT. Okay, now
Yes.
if the interesting thing about raising your EFTs, when people look at TANs or visits or transactions, and of course the industry has been consistently down in TANs over the last 3 years. Some people will
Yes,
see 10 and
unfortunately.
15. Yes, unfortunately. And what it is that for the tanners that are out there, they seem to be tanning less. Well, one of the things that's really fascinating is that as you raise EFTs, you also raise tan visits, because the more EFT
Hmm.
customers you have, they utilize the tanning in your salon more often. They come in there more often.
Yes.
And if you
Yeah,
raise,
I think isn't the mindset there? Well, I'm paying for this membership. I should take advantage of it. I should get the most that I can out of it. Isn't that kind of what drives that usage?
well, I think that's part of it, but I think also part that if you're on an EFT, particularly if you're on a higher level where you're dealing with better equipment and you're getting better results, you come there more often because you want to. I mean, our whole
True.
business is about self-esteem and wanting to look better. And as you're
Yep.
tanning and making you look better, you're more reinforced to come there. So, and of course, as we raise tan visits, you increase your opportunities to sell more, and then again raise your PCA, because as people are coming in more often, you have that many more times to sell them another lotion or maybe to a
Uh-huh.
higher level. And John, you brought up something before we got on the broadcast here that was
Yeah.
really, really important, and it was about selling people to upgraded levels. Now, I'm going to put that on the next slide that's coming up. I want to talk about selling to upgraded levels.
Sure.
So I didn't
Yeah,
want you
let,
to
let
think
me
that I'd
let me
forgotten.
bring our listeners up to speed on that
Go
conversation
ahead.
so they kind of know what we're talking about. Everybody, when John and I were just sort of discussing this particular webinar, I asked him about you know utilizing. For me personally, being a digital copywriter, and we live and die by Google Analytics. Everything is analytics these days. If it were me behind that counter at John's Bronze, I guess I would call my business that. I would be looking at what each customer is purchasing, and more importantly, what they're not. I would really be living off of the analytics that are presented by my salon point-of-sale software system. Let's say Susie Smith is a great customer, always purchases her eyewear, always purchases a bottle of lotion when she needs one. But let's say my software tells me that Susie really just tans in the base beds. That's her membership. That's what she buys. That's what she likes. Thinking in terms of PCA, one customer at a time, my mind being transferring it over from my professional experience, I would say, well, why isn't anybody offering her a free upgrade session and then following up on that with the sales attempt? Maybe you could expound upon that a little bit, John?
Yeah.
The utilizing of, yeah.
Let me do this. I'm gonna switch screens here, and before I do it, just
Sure.
one quick comment about raising or retention. It's retention of EFTs. And coming up on the 27th of June, which is a Monday at 4 o'clock, there's going to be a Heartland Tan webinar that I'm hosting. It's called Canceling the Cancels. Because right now this happens to be a very important subject, is how do I keep from my EFTs being canceled? So I want to mention that to you. We've got
Sure.
Bill Mandry from Heartland Tan on there, and also Dion Borkowitz. Dion is an owner of 4 salons in Milwaukee, and he's got some great methods that he gets people to stop canceling and keep some kind of a membership status. But let me get John.
Yeah, I think you mentioned him last week. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a sharp operator. Okay, let's get to what you're talking about. Think about your EFT price levels and think about how little you have to do to raise PCA by only keeping EFT members just another month or two, and the difference is staggering. So let's go specifically to your question, because you were talking about upgrades, and let me bring this up, because you said looking at the software, and I've just brought that screen so people can see that.
Everything is analytics these days, and
it really is.
Your software provides that.
It does.
Yeah.
If you're not on a card system.
We're true.
And
cards and minutes notwithstanding, it's all about your analytics on your point of sale salon software, for sure.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something, John, before we got on the call here, and that is talking to your employees about what's going on here. I find sometimes that with the employees that we have in this business, that millennial generation, certainly there are some of them that you can easily get to the conclusion that they just don't have a clue. I understand that. There's some people. There's some people in all generations. There's people in my generation that probably couldn't find a clue if they ran over it with a truck. But they're just that's the way it is with some people. But anyway, but yet a lot of the problems that the millennial generation has with working for some of us in these other generations is that we don't, and I find this sometimes, John, it just nauseates me, that owners do not take the time and share enough information. There's a paranoia like, oh, I can't let my employees know too much about this because maybe they'll go work for my competition, or some ridiculous notion like that. Because, if your competition wants to know what you're doing, they can find out easy enough. I mean, it's actually the more you share with your employees, the more engaged they'll be with your business, and they are more likely to stay. So this first point
absolutely, you never know what kind of fire you might light in somebody. You never know how you might inspire a younger person to not only take an active interest in your business, but you may be helping to set a future entrepreneur on his or her path.
That is,
you never know.
God's honest truth, what you just said. That is so true. And what the millennial generation, what they want sometimes, and again, this is a generation that grew up with computers. They were in computer labs when they were 6 and 7 years old. They want to know the why. I think sometimes employers in the tanning business, they'll tell people do this, do that, and do that, and they won't explain the why. This is why you do it. This millennial generation is a very smart generation, and they're intelligent. And so their reaction is, hey, I'm a smart person. Just tell me why you're telling me I have to do this or have to do that. Well, why do I have to use this particular sterile spray on cleaning the acrylics
The
in the,
acrylic, yeah.
yeah, I mean, why do I have to use this? Why can't I just use Windex or whatever? You
Well,
got to
John, I
explain these
think
things.
I think you've just written the intro for next week's webinar. I think maybe we might want to do something on millennials, but let's bring it back to what we were initially talking about with using the salon software and different techniques and strategies that our salon owners can use to raise that PCA, maybe one customer at a time, if possible.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good subject. As a matter of fact, it's a very good subject. But to get back and finish what we're talking about here on average
Sure.
EFT level usage. So the reason I brought this up with the employees is because when you have a meeting with your people, you should tell
Yes.
them to utilize the information that's available to them when the customer comes in, because on all of this software, there's information, customer information field that
Yep.
you can look at, and they can look at where the customer's been tanning, and if they've been tanning, if they're kind of a dead end tanning in level 1, that's not good. You don't want people to
No.
stay in a level 1 tanning. Matter of fact, level 1 tanning, continuance of level 1 tanning is a very good way to lose people off your membership. Some of the best
Yes.
way to keep them is to get them into a higher level, because the beds are more differentiated from the competition. They have more bells and whistles, and it gets people more interested in your salon, because everybody's got
better results, longer lasting results, improved experience.
Amen.
And you can even say the same. Couldn't you say the same about tanning lotions? I mean, your software should tell you if Susie Smith is only buying on average a $30 or $40 bottle. That's where she stays at. That's where she's hovering at. Look at that. Look at those metrics. Look at that information and say, well, gosh, you know, if we can somehow interest Susie into purchasing a $50, maybe $60, or even higher, you know, or more of an upgrade or luxury lotion than that, you know, wouldn't that raise the PCA? I mean, because if you have success with Susie, you can have the same success with other customers as well.
Well, actually, you brought up a good point. It's actually more basic than that, because as you raise EFT membership levels, as you get more people into EFT memberships,
Yep.
It's a natural thing. If they think they're committed to at least a 6 months or even longer, whatever, why would they not want to buy a lotion? But I'll tell you what's frightening, John, is you look at some of the numbers of these people across the country, and you look at, if you take a random sampling of your unique clients, you find a lot of people that have not bought a bottle of lotion, and buying a sample packet.
My goodness.
I know it's crazy. It drives me nuts to see some of these numbers, because then, you know, a lot of our tanning salon owners they'll bitch and moan about how somebody will come in with a lotion that they bought at Walmart or they bought offline, and you know, and yet no one is, I say no one, and this, by the way, is true. The last 24 months, lotion sales in proportion to the business have gone down. The LPPA, lotion per person, it is really terrible.
That's sad.
What we've seen among our clients is our EFTs have gone up dramatically. So they're taking in a lot more money that way, but they're missing the boat because they're not selling the lotions like they could. And that's a whole different...
Well, I think I see what you're saying here, John. I think really the EFT is the key, in so much that once they make that commitment, once these tanners, these clients make that commitment to come into XYZ Tanning Salon, now you have that, for lack of a better way to put it, that captive audience that you can then sell the upgrades, sell the lotions, sell the sunless sessions, teeth whitening, and on and on and on it goes. It all has to start with the EFT.
It really does.
That's the commitment that they're making to their tan, and more importantly to your tanning salon. Yeah,
because I tell you, John, I mean, it is absolutely the bane of our industry is selling minutes or stars or points or or sessions. It's, you know, if you look at the most successful chains, and the most successful individual single stores, they don't do that. That's just
no, they don't. And you know, I've spoken to. Here's a blast from the past. This goes way back to Robbie Siegler with Dark Tan. He was
Dark
one of
tan,
the
yep.
first.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if he's the first, but he was definitely one of the first people really pushing. And I mean, this goes back more than 10, 15 years ago. He said EFT memberships are the way you have to go with this. And he got the idea from watching I mean, he was a bodybuilder kind of guy himself. He got the idea from the gym industry. He saw he saw the fitness industry was having success with it. Why not? Why can't tanning? And I mean, there probably are many other business models using this form of payment, this form of membership.
Yeah.
So it just, I'm sure martial arts, I could go on and on. I won't waste our listeners' time. It's the way everything is going. I mean, we're really very far and solidly down that path.
Oh yeah. If you're selling, I'll just say this. You know, I mean, if you're listening to this broadcast right now, and you make your money from selling minutes or selling sessions packages, and you don't really strive to sell EFTs, you're going to be out of business because you're not going to be able to compete. The people that are selling memberships, what they're doing is they're selling a bonding relationship with the customer, and it makes an enormous difference. Now, and what I wanted to talk about too is on upgraded levels. You know, when somebody says to me, well, in our revenues last year, we sold X amount of dollars in upgrades, and then I take a look at where most of their EFTs are, and you see this 80% in level 1, it's like, you know, I want to tear my hair out because really this industry should not be in the business of selling upgrades. We should be in the business of selling upgraded levels.
Upgraded memberships.
Upgraded memberships, exactly. The more that we sell people and hire equipment, the more they're going to bond with us, the experience is going to be better, and we're going to keep them around. So, and one of the things I've said for years is that another problem that we have is that people sell EFTs, or they sell, even if they sell 30-day unlimited packages, sometimes they'll throw in an upgrade. And what's amazing, if you take just a random sampling of your customers and you look at how many of them have an upgrade in their account and have not used that, it will frighten you how many upgrades are not being used. And the reason for it is, John, it's the same like minutes or sessions. What it is people squirrel those things away. They say, oh, well, I've got a wedding coming up in October. I've got 3 free upgrades. I'll wait, and then I'll get them to hire equipment, and I'll tan 3 times before that wedding so I get some good color before I go to the wedding. And that's crazy, because the more they wait to use their upgrades or get an experience in an upgraded bed, the less is the opportunity that they're going to be spending on an upgraded level with you. So what you want your employees to do is to look in that field, that information field, and say, you know, I see you have 2 upgrades here you haven't used. Now, if they don't want to use their upgrades, here's the little ploy that you can use. You can say, well, you know, you've been in this bed, and let's say it's a level 2 bed, and this bed over here is a level 3. It has facials and shoulder tanners, and it's got more air conditioning and a better music system, whatever the bells and whistles are. And normally we charge $8 for an individual session, or $5, or whatever it is to upgrade. I'll tell you what, and here's the key, John, and it's a subtle difference. People like to be asked their opinion. We all do. You do, I do, we all like to be asked our opinion, because it makes us feel like we're important.
Knowledgeable, and unique and special. Absolutely.
That's right.
My writing career has been built upon that.
That's right. That's right. So you say to somebody, this upgrade is normally $5, $6, $7, $8, whatever. I'd like your opinion. Would you please tan on this upgraded bed and tell me what you thought of it? No charge. It's on me today. Now, if every salesperson in every salon did that, it's like setting up in volleyball. You set somebody up for a spike. Now, as they get through with that equipment and they're going out the door, and if you got the chance to catch them and say, How did you feel about
Yep.
that? Oh, it was great. But let's say that you don't catch them because you've got 2 or 3 people that are waiting to tan, and you've got to clean beds and
I
whatever.
think I can answer this.
You know, go
Put a
ahead.
note. Put a note in the salon
Yep.
point of sale software that you
Yep.
gave that person an upgrade, and that allows the next employee that serves that customer to follow up on that and perhaps get the sale.
John, it's a volleyball spike. What's happened
It
is
is.
that the person, the salesperson, has set that customer up for the next time they come in. Because I look in that software that you're talking about, and I say to Susie, you good old Susie you're using, Susie, you were in that bed. Did you like that? Oh, I loved it. That bed was wonderful. Well, you know,
Yep.
only this much more per session for your month package you bought or for your EFT, and let's say it's another $1.50 a session, whatever, you can tan in that bed all the time. I mean, it's
and,
a
and
real
there
easy
goes
sell.
back to the numbers. You sell it to them by showing them just how small the difference is per session in cost.
Per session, and that's
to have unlimited tanning within this in this special unit that they've come to fall in love with, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Well, John, I'll have to stop us right here because I think we're pretty much at our maximum time.
Yep.
But let me just say this to everybody who's been listening. First of all, thank you for attending another SunBiz Weekly webinar. And to kind of sum up what John and I are talking about here, your per customer average is extremely important. It basically gives you an idea on the average what each client is spending at your tanning salon. And the key to raising your PCA, finish it, John?
Yeah, I mean, the key to raising your PCA, of course, is EFTs. It's EFT level, but it's also, and we can't, unfortunately, in these webinars, we can't get into as much detail as we'd like to. I mean, that's why we're going to have more of them. But one of the keys, of course, one of the keys is bundling. If you want people to step up in their commitment on EFT, you got to give them more value. There's no way to get around it. And so you've got more value just right there in your salon, whether it's into upgraded levels or if it's spray. And spray tanning, of course, John, we're going to definitely have to have, we'll have some of these webinars on spray tanning because spray is
absolutely
huge, so.
A very important subject to discuss. And before we let you go, folks, I just want to remind you that since John has really opened my eyes on just how important EFT is, both for your PCA and just your overall success and the heartbeat of your business, I'm going to put some pressure on our SunBiz Weekly contributors to start churning out more EFT sales best practices advice for you, everyone, to read and hopefully put into practice. Also, I believe, look back on SunBiz Weekly, I believe it was J.R. Homer did a great piece about the Tan Till EFT membership sale. It's really good. It's perfect for Jason. Check it out. You'll do it, try it, you'll sell more EFT memberships.
Oh, absolutely. JR knows what he's doing, so he's a good guy to have as a contributor. And the final screen I have up here for everybody is thank you for joining our webinar today. You see the contact number down there below, and you can see the email address, and you see my email address. And, you know, we ought to do, John, I don't know why on this page we don't have your email address on here. So
you know, that's a good point. Hey, everybody, John Ribner at sunbizweekly.com. You can reach me there. And I'll also give you my personal email address. I don't mind. I'm always working. I love to hear from our listeners and our readers. JP_Ribner at yahoo.com. If you have an idea that you'd like to see us do a webinar about, or maybe an idea for a story that you'd like to see in SunBiz Weekly, seriously, send me an email or even hit me up on Facebook. We have an open door policy for all the tanning professionals out there. We're your magazine. This is for you. What we do every week is for you. If there's something we're not doing or something you'd like to see a little bit more, let me know. I'll get it in there. I guarantee it.
Well, John, I think it's been a good session. I want to thank everybody for
Absolutely.
joining us on this, and we got more of these goodies coming up. So, Mr. Ribner, have a nice evening, and we'll be talking again
And
soon.
you too.
All right.
Absolutely. Bye,
Bye-bye,
everybody.
guys.